Hey everyone, this is Pharaoh Silver, the Pharaoh of Beer Money Finance, back with another video. I was going to put my personal finance video on this one. However, I'm going to be honest with you guys, I didn't like it. I have been trying to do a new style. This style is supposed to help me out a little bit with not just production value as well, but also provide you guys with more real content as well. Going forward. So I'm doing more semi-rant style content, like reaction videos, like the one that we're going to do today. And I tried to do one for personal finance to kind of add my own experiences to it. And I tried to use a bit of method on how I would outline it. And I started writing the script. I then did the script, and I'm going to be honest with you guys, I didn't like it very much. It was really bad. So I'm redoing it, and I'm going to make that personal finance video next week. In its place, I am going to do an Atlas Earth video. And yes, I'm aware I have an Atlas Earth video now. I have an Atlas Earth video on Saturday, which is my progress report, which I haven't even started on yet. I've been just very busy with a lot of things outside of the YouTube channel, but they have now all been settled. I can now actually buckle down and look into stuff like this. So with that, Atlas Earth. So yesterday, if you checked out the Atlas Earth YouTube channel, you would notice that there is another very quick Welcome to Earth episode. This was an Ask Me Anything with CEO Sami. He's now pretty much kind of bringing himself out there as more of a face of Atlas Earth, which is really great, especially since Manning has left and has created the new Games 2 Coins company, which is becoming like kind of a provider for crypto, and it's increasingly looking like Atlas Earth, when they do crypto cash outs, they're going to be using Manning's company. So that's probably because if you took a look, and we talked about this on the stream, if you see here that, yes, in fact, Manning is the CEO of Games to Coins, but Sami is also one of the advisors. And so is Bo, who is, I believe, the CTO of Atlas Reality. So this is very clearly, while not entirely Atlas Reality's thing, it is definitely in the Atlas Reality universe. It is definitely not something that Atlas Reality is doing, but it's something that, they're kind of working together with. So let me go over everything that he had talked about, or at least the ones that I highlighted are probably the most important to my audience, and give you my thoughts on it. The first one is going to be surveys. So with surveys, he says that they are not very happy with CPX research right now. They don't like the user experience of it, and I totally understand that. I feel like, though, as far as survey mills are concerned, CPX research is about above average. They are not the best, they're not the worst, but they are definitely better than average. Like, it's not as bad as like your WANads or Simplicio. They are basically bottom of the barrel. But CPX research, they're not bad. They're no BitLabs. I think BitLabs is a little bit better than they are. And also, a lot of the survey ads have definitely been taking a hit lately. And I know a lot of people who take these surveys aren't liking the low amount of pay that is on it. But I feel like if you compare that to like what you would earn from surveys on other places from these survey mills like Swagbucks or Bridge, you're getting a better deal in Atlas Bucks from the surveys. Like, you get paid so little anyways off of the other apps. I'd rather just put it into something like this. So yeah, if they want to revamp it, that's great. I think they should try multiple service providers as well, but they did say that they don't know if they're going to be doing something like that, but they are in the process of revamping that. So that's with surveys. Now with landmarks and auctions. Now this one, a lot of you have been wanting to talk about. Like, are they ever going to get landmarks done? They've been talking about this now for, it's got to be closing in now on 4 years at this point, because we saw landmarks from the very beginning. Or at least, the talk of landmarks. So they mentioned that they are going to add a system where you have to play for a bid token, or you have to get a bid token in order to get something at a particular price. Now, he really didn't go into detail too much about what that means, but he says it involves being active on the app. So does this mean that they're trying to make up a system where it's not just going to go to the highest bidder, but it's going to go to someone who's active who also just happens to have a lot of money? That's going to be interesting to see, and I'm curious to see what the landmark system will be going forward because of that. But I didn't really get anything else out of it. Now you guys could probably go watch it and you guys could probably find something else, but as far as I know, that bid token is supposed to bring some sort of like combination of activity and money to Atlas Earth. Now, he did mention that probably some of the bigger landmarks are probably going to go to, the bigger players like Shaman 15, like Count Maximus, like Rainbow Ultra or the like. But, they're not going, but you're not going to see that everywhere is what he's saying. He's saying that there's going to be some local landmarks as well that some of the other players might want to get. So maybe there's a local landmark that I have here in Kannapolis. We have the Dale Earnhardt Memorial statue. I'll be honest with you, I might keep my eye on that one, depending on how expensive it would end up, if that ever becomes an actual landmark. But as far as landmarks are concerned, is it going to be something that is going to be worth it for the player who is going to watch my Summer of Atlas guides and wants to make money? My answer to that question is probably 99% no. Unless there is a huge influx of Atlas bucks that comes out of the landmarks. But from what it's sounding like, it's not going to be that much different as becoming a mayor forever of a particular city. If that's true, then I'm not really looking into possibly getting anything outside of like, a cosmetic thing. Because how many people are going to show up for the Dale Earnhardt Memorial statue in Kannapolis? Or how many are going to show up for the Atrium Health Ballpark? Like a few, maybe I might get like 20 to 30 a year maybe, and at 10, let's say 20 Atlas bucks every single time someone buys a badge there, then that's what, 400 to 600 a year. Like I would still get more out of Kannapolis than I would out of that landmark itself. So again, landmarks probably going to be more of something that will help out Atlas Earth rather than the average player. That's perfectly fine. Atlas Reality needs to make money anyway. Now we're going to move on to minigames. So with minigame fixes, they had talked about possible region merging, possible merging of countries. They definitely mentioned the merging of the United Kingdom. So that one, I'm really glad that I made up that suggestion a couple months ago, or was it a month ago? Well, it's on this video. You see it up here. Yeah, right there. That I made my little suggestion there on what I thought Atlas Earth should do regarding minigames for international players. And I mentioned that combining countries together into regions based on time zone would allow more participation and would be a better psychological feel for those international players. So like, for example, someone in Canada right now, the most they're probably ever going to see is something like a 10,000, 12,000 Atlas buck pot. But if you combine them with Mexico and Brazil and possibly, somewhere in their docket, you got to think Argentina is also on that list. And maybe Chile, maybe, I'm not sure. But if you add on those countries together, you could see pot sizes upwards of 50, 60K. Now, that's not as much as you would see in the United States for sure. But that's still going to be enough that it's going to cause some notice for international players to actually want to play, and that might increase the pot even further. Other features that they had been talking about and the CEO himself wanted to see was an increase to top 1,500 instead of a top 500 and eliminating the state pool altogether. I honestly love this idea. Partially, well, to be fair, this is more out of my own best interest because I live in one of the 2-3 toughest states to actually get Atlas bucks out of for the state board in North Carolina. I believe California is definitely tougher. I think Georgia and North Carolina kind of fight for that number 2 spot though. And you can tell, maybe Texas as well. I heard Texas is also pretty tough. So Texas, Georgia, North Carolina, those 3 kind of fight for that number 2 spot. And you can tell it's very, very competitive out here. You can't, let's see, there have been many mini games where I would finish top 25 or someone in North Carolina would finish top 25 and still not even podium in the state. And it definitely happens in California. Meanwhile, you go up to Wyoming, someone there is probably top 500 and still won the state. That's kind of not fair. And I mentioned that suggestion back in 2023 that they needed to fix that. That was one of the 10 things that I wanted to see happen. And it's great to see that the CEO is taking notice of that. And I like that. So great on him on that one. Hopefully they get to working on that for sure. They also started talking about bigger sponsors. So with the bigger sponsors, I'm going to make a little suggestion here. So they think that they can get deals with these bigger sponsors. I'm assuming bigger sponsors as in like Walmart, McDonald's, actual big global conglomerate names. And if they actually can get these big conglomerate names to come in and maybe even like a big gaming company or something, and actually get like lots of Atlas bucks off of it, like if they get a very big deal and they pay a lot of money, maybe they could have a larger starting pot, especially for international players, with a bigger sponsor. Case in point, Swagbucks does a trivia thing Monday through Thursday. For those of you who don't know about Swagbucks trivia, it's its own app. You can earn Swagbucks and you win like a share of $1,000 plot share of $1,000 pot. Every single time you play, and you answer 9 of the 10 questions correctly, as long as you get the last question correct. It's 9 out of 10 if you use a read. Anyway, with Swagbucks, they can increase that pot whenever they get a bigger sponsor. And there have been times where they've had a bigger sponsor that they've had pots where they're not $1,000, they're $5,000, $7,500. I've even seen a $10,000 pot one time. So they have had those where like there'd be a lot of people coming in, they would split the pot, and you get a pretty decent amount of Swagbucks out of it. And maybe Atlas Earth could do something like that for the mini games. Maybe for like, I don't know, if say McDonald's becomes one of their sponsors and McDonald's pays like an exorbitant amount to be sponsored for it, then maybe they could add that to the pot. And so the starting pot would be like 80,000 for the US and 40,000 for international or something like that, or maybe even 100,000 for the US. That would be great. Like they end up making a lot of money off of a big conglomerate making them advertisement, and we get more cash back out of it. It's a win-win situation there, in my opinion. They also mentioned a forfeit button. Sure. Why not? Teach their own on that one. Forfeit buttons, if it were me, like if I were playing a Mr. Everything or Rainbow Ultra, like I just try to beat them. Well, Rainbow Ultra might be the one person I might consider forfeiting, but even then I probably play it through out of spite. Unless, of course, that forfeit button involves them still sticking around to play, and you just pretty much leave the game, and they just still have to play out the timer. Then if they did that, then maybe I would use the forfeit button as well towards like the really good players like Rainbow Ultra. Sometimes, depending on the game, Mark Cuban, or someone who I know has a better connection than me in bowling or fishing. And they also mentioned revamping the mini games. Now, he did mention the new design of Atlas Earth and showed like the fishing mini game as an example. Now, the fishing mini game, the design, like I said, the design looked like that they were trying to revamp the mini games a bit on like how they would work mechanically, but I feel like I'm not getting very much as far as like the wording that he's mentioned. He's coming off a little bit too confusing regarding like what the mini game is revamping. Are you revamping the design? Are you revamping the user experience? Are you revamping the mechanics of the games? We know you're revamping the design, but what else are you adding on to it? So far, I haven't seen much with fishing, and the fishing pictures outside of like knowing that they're revamping the design has left me personally with more questions than answers. Okay, let's move on to the AMP program. Now, they mentioned that they patented their AMP program. I'm assuming with like the virtual currency plus cashback situation there is kind of one of a kind. They're in the process of licensing it out to other game studios, and that some countries might see this in the future, but he is pretty certain that it's never going to be global. And part of that is because they work mostly with Visa and MasterCard. Now, if your country isn't very prominent with Visa and MasterCard, then you're probably not going to see it as much as, say, another country like, I don't know, the UK, Canada, or Australia, who might have Visa and MasterCard a little bit more prominently in that country. So I could see, the AMP program being something that, the US, UK, Canada, Australia, maybe Germany, France would have as well. I also wouldn't mind them, like, meeting up with other like credit card companies as well, especially American Express. American Express could probably want something like this as well. That'd be pretty interesting, because American Express I know is all over the world. They're global. They're accepted globally. And finally, let's talk about the question that I got answered by Sami. I'm going to play it for you guys, and then I will give you my thoughts on his response. So let me go ahead and let this video play, all right?
And my last question for you, Sami, and I know this is dear to your heart. You mentioned it earlier. Content creator Farrell Silver. Some of you guys will recognize him off the Beer Money Network. What does your long-term vision look like for Atlas Earth in the year 2030 and beyond? How would you see someone like me explain to a newcomer what Atlas Earth is at that point?
Ooh, how to explain to a newcomer is going to be interesting at that point. But effectively, it's Atlas Earth is a virtual real estate game where you can earn cash back from virtual real estate doing anything and everything you already do. You want to be on social media, you want to play mini games, you want to play in a rec room, you want to host digital events, right? Like I'm talking, I know this sounds crazy, but I'm talking like really I want you to be able to host digital events top down and in VR. I want you to, when you host an event, like I've literally thought about the idea of like, what if you had an event where like you had an artist and everybody who hangs out, they don't pay a cover charge, they pay a percent of the rent per second to you for being at your hosted event, right? So like the microverse idea of like you when you're at a McDonald's, you can hang out inside the McDonald's microverse. There's just a bunch of things that we're gonna go with, but effectively, Atlas Earth will be a super app if I have anything to do with it, which is it's the let me just put it this way: the next Instagram, the next Facebook, the next Snapchat is not gonna look like these apps that are today. I believe that it's going to look like an Atlas Earth. You look at Atlas Earth and you play Atlas Earth and you open it and you see somebody else who bought a parcel at a store you go to or whatever. You have this like relationship with them in a weird way, even though they're strangers. You're like, they came here, they opened the app and they downloaded it and they bought this parcel right where I'm standing. So it already kind of feels like social media. So once you do that, where does that go? To be able to document travels, to attach photos to your badges. I mean, it's unlimited. And I think you guys can see everything I'm talking about is possible. It doesn't even sound outrageous. So I think all that is where it's going. It's so much more than just like this idea of, hey, you come in, you buy land, and it's a little green square and things like that. Like, I want you to play games in here. I want you to go shopping through here. Exactly. Like I want you to I tell Elizabeth all the time, like there's a bunch of apps out there who should be worried about us once if we execute on what we're saying, there's gonna be people who didn't even know we existed going, where did that app come from? I do want to say I hate the term metaverse, but it's only because people have ruined the term metaverse, right? Like yeah. What we're doing, and everybody on the call hopefully appreciates this, we have more daily users than Meta's Horizon Worlds had monthly users at their peak, right? Just imagine that for a second. Meta spent $40 billion, and we have more daily users today than they had monthly users at their peak of their hype. So I think we're proving that we can do something that engages people. But I don't want people to come in and think of it that way. But we want to build something where people come here and they experience all these things. They experience trivia. They experience skill-based games. They experience hangout rooms. They can document their travels. They can buy land right where they're standing. They can, visit their neighbor's house and so like there's an Animal Crossing element that I'm enamored with, right? So there's like so many things we could do with this once you have the platform. And I really do think we're almost there. The social media element is really, really important because then it's like, I'm actually learning about the real world in this fake world, right? And it further reinforces that Atlas Earth is the real world.
Okay, super app. Now I kind of see where he's talking about, and it seems like, okay, first comment I want to talk about is this idea that Atlas Earth is going to be a super app. Now, he mentioned that metaverse has been used so often, but honestly, the term super app has also been used almost as often, I'm going to say. I've heard about this from like Upland a few years ago, mentioned they wanted to become a super app. They clearly had failed. When Elon Musk bought Twitter and changed it into X, he talked about wanting to be a super app. It feels like every single app, at least every single like revolutionary startup I've seen or revolutionary startup app that I've seen, wants to try to be something like try to be a little bit of everything. And I feel like, now this is just my opinion, all right? I would rather Atlas Earth do well on something that they should specialize in rather than try to be everything to everyone. Now, look, I could be completely wrong, all right? I'll be the first one to admit that I'm wrong if this whole social media feed turns out to do them well and they end up getting 5-10 times as many downloads and 5-10 times as many active users as they currently do. And that would be great. It's especially great for me, honestly, because that means more people are going to watch my guides. More people are going to watch about how to make money with Atlas Earth. Now, as far as the metaverse is concerned, now, from what it's sounding like, I don't think he's creating a metaverse. At least his idea that he has is not what the original idea of what a metaverse was supposed to be. What I think he is doing, though, is he's kind of creating something that's a little bit in between. I'm not going to say like a casual metaverse. It's more like an AR verse. So you use Atlas Earth. So his idea, it was what I'm assuming, is using Atlas Earth to build like an augmented reality world where you can learn more about the real world, where you can see the real world through this augmented reality. This is kind of an aid for the real world to go out and look at actual stuff, to go out and look at reality. And on that end, while I feel like it is a very ambitious undertaking for Atlas Reality to take part in, I absolutely would love it if they pulled that off. Again, they still have issues. They have a lot of issues right now with like, there's still issues with the stability of the app. All right. Every time I try to switch out from screen to screen, like half the time it won't even run properly and I have to restart the app. Minigames still have connectivity issues and I'm aware they're revamping that. There's still issues with the ads. Matter of fact, just today I play an ad and like, then it goes immediately back into the shop screen and then I get the wheel of death on that red button. So, there's still a lot of issues that Atlas Earth needs to fix, I feel like. And once they get those done and they want to, and now that they have made it clear that they want to become a super app, that they want to build something like that, then they're going to need, I don't know, a couple ideas that I would think. One of them I actually gave to SSC Kelly, which, by the way, you noticed SSC Kelly was actually moderating the Ask Me Anything there. One thing, and I mentioned this to SSC Kelly just this morning, to your providers, why don't you provide them with a vendor package that would include like a sticker that they can put on that, so that way they can say Atlas Earth AMP program certified or something like that. So that way people will know, oh, this is Atlas Earth. This is what they do. Pokemon does that all the time. Like when they, with tour game shops, like places that are seen in tournaments as like places for premier events. There's one in Birmingham, Alabama. When I used to play, this is when I used to play Pokemon competitively, and it would say Pokemon Premier Event Area, and would actually have it out in the bottom right corner of one of the windows there, so that way this is the place to go. Have something like that with Atlas Earth. I would like to see that. So yeah, overall, I like the direction Atlas Earth is heading. I'm still cautious, though, about this whole super app idea when they've got backend stability issues that, in my opinion, need to be cleaned up first, and other features that they do need to fix. But look, I got to give credit where credit's due. They've come a long way since I first started covering them. It also helps that they're more transparent than most apps in this space. Now, again, I'm saying transparent in comparison to other beer money apps. You don't see this much interaction with beer money apps, or even a lot of games in particular, the way that they do with Atlas Earth. And I do acknowledge that, and I hope they keep doing that as they get bigger. And while other beer money apps have been nerfing, they've been ghosting their users, they've been doing some really just very weird stuff that has made a lot of people, I'm gonna admit, I'm seeing it from a lot of you, that you are not as interested in the beer money space as you once was because of all the nerfing that's been going on. The only app that people ask for, and I think I know why, is Atlas Earth. And the reason why is because it's the only app that, one, kind of combines gaming and beer money together, although there's Upland and Rollercoin, but they're more focused on crypto, and they pay out so little compared to Atlas Earth. But second, Atlas Earth is the only app that I know in the space that has actually been buffing over the last couple years. Whereas everyone else has been nerfing or shutting down, Atlas Earth has been actually improving. And that is a rarity right now. And it's a rarity in general, but I mean, beer money apps in general have taken a huge hit the last little while. It's just really interesting to see Atlas Earth continue to beat the odds. They've been beating the odds over the crypto virtual land craze. They've been beating the odds now on the beer money space. Look, you know, this is the reason why that I'm covering Atlas Earth more and more as well. One, you guys want to see it, but two, where else are you going to find an app quite like this? Where else are you going to find an app that's been doing better, that is getting more people talking? I mean, show me another one, you know, MTurk, Swagbucks. Like, there isn't another app right now that is doing what Atlas Earth is doing and is performing the way that Atlas Earth is performing. And I'm well aware that, you know, it's still not great, but like during the darker times of this space right now, it's great to see an app that's doing as well as it's doing. In a sea of declining platforms, it's one of the few that is still moving upward. All right. So, and look, I'm telling you guys the truth. All right. This is me being as neutral and unbiased as I can be. I am not here to talk positive about Atlas Earth. And I've told you guys over and over already, you know, should I put money into this game? Absolutely not. And Atlas Earth, and I bet you Atlas Reality will probably more prefer that you use the AMP program and watch their ads than buy parcels. And the reason why is because this way they can show the vendors that they are getting them traffic, and that is better long-term health for their app than even a $100,000 parcel package could ever give them. Instead of giving them money right off the bat, you're giving them business with a vendor, and other vendors are going to look at that and be like, oh, I like this. Maybe I should sign up for this and get more traffic. And they will get more people as well. And that's how they're going to get bigger sponsors. And that's how this app will stay healthy. And that's how you're going to continue to get cash back on this app. All right. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that you go out and frivolously spend $1,000 on like clothing or something with an AMP program. But that means that if you want to go out and dine, you know, spend $20 dining out with or maybe $40 dining out with your significant other, you know, go to a location that Atlas Earth has an AMP program in and get Atlas bucks back for it. You know, they're going to do the gas thing soon. They talked about they're going to have cash back for gas very soon. You know, go to a station that uses Atlas Earth and get cash back. And don't forget to use a Sam's Club gift card and get 5% cash back on top of it too. All right, things like this. All right, so that's the video. That's pretty much what I wanted to say, and that's my reaction regarding the latest Ask Me Anything. The first Ask Me Anything with the CEO, Sami Khan. Yeah, thank you all for watching. Here's the Patreon board as well. If you like this, comment on your thoughts as well on this, and don't forget to subscribe to Beer Money Engine. I will get that finance video out next week, okay? So, with that, thank you, everybody. I'll see you all next time. Pharaoh Silver signing out. Bye, everybody.